And that was our team from North 54, and that was the round that we had just an hour ago, 2 hours ago, and they won that round. Now, what's really interesting about this final heat is that over here we have the White Goose Bistro team, and they won their first round. But guess who they played in the first round? Team North 54. So this is kind of like a grudge match. It's the big rematch. And these two teams have come full circle, and now they're facing down each other again on the stage. So that adds just an extra layer to this competition. Look, I'm going to introduce the teams once we get started. I'm going to introduce the judges once we get started. I will tell you one thing, and that is that in every round of the competition until this final round, we brought one studio audience member down to fill out the judges' quorum. But in order to be sure that we had a completely impartial judge, because even though I asked people if they were at all related or knew the people on stage, it turned out we had to keep a couple people who were, let's just say, very friendly with some of the judges on stage. So to make it completely impartial, we have invited Ranji, who is the head of the Chamber of Commerce here in town, did I get that right? To join the judging panel to complete the quorum. And she's eaten in both of these restaurants. It's completely impartial, is very excited about tasting all the food. So that's yet another difference about the competition. I'm getting word from my color commentator, Andy Beasley here. Andy, who is the Vice President of your soon-to-be revamped Prince George Cougars, and also this year's Prince George Citizen of the Year, is going to be calling color commentary for me. So we have 60 minutes on the clock. That's the same amount of time we've had for every one of these competitions. But now this is the last 60 minutes in the competition. We have Chef Ryan, Chef Mark. We're going to introduce them shortly. But if you'll all help me right now, we're going to count down, get the clock started. There's a lot of business to get to. These chefs have a lot of work to do. So here we go, folks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the carnage begin. And there we go. The clock is starting to tick down. So Andy, why don't you introduce the two teams for us?
Thank you very much, Bob. Okay, we have two of the finest restaurants in Prince George right here. It couldn't be a better final right now. They've both done unbelievable jobs in their preliminary rounds. This is going to be an amazing contest. And on your left, let me introduce from the White Goose Bistro, Chef Ryan Sear. And on your right-hand side, from North 54, Mark Crema.
I guess the charter buses must have pulled up a little earlier.
That's obviously a lot of fans out there. One of the things I'm sure Bob is going to say later on, and I don't want to steal his thunder, but one of the great things about this competition is that the real winner is that all of us that get to go and eat at these amazing establishments.
God, I was going to say that.
But there's lots of room for you to say that later.
Okay, and so let me explain how the competition works. There are 3 ingredients that the chefs have to work with, and now I've got my okay, so the 3 ingredients. There's 1 ingredient that they have to use in every dish, and the dishes are the appetizer, the entree, and the dessert. And so the ingredient that has to go in every dish is chocolate. Now that might sound great for dessert, but on these concurrently. And as I look around at the chefs, I see all sorts of ingredients going down, and it's hard to tell at this point what the individual ingredients, which course they're going to end up in, because these chefs they're all multitasking right now. But looking up on the stove over here at the North Bistro side, I see a couple of pans with some oil in it heating up. There's some corn. Can you get this on the camera? I wonder if I can hold this up for just a second. Chef, is it okay if I just hold that corn up? Look at that. He's blackening the corn directly over the flame. And as well, there was a poblano chili. So that's a New Mexican chili with a beautiful flavor, great heat, and great complexity. Over here on the White Goose Bistro side, I see some chilies being diced up. Chef Ryan is dicing some chilies with his bare hands. I'm hoping that he's not going to rub his eyes or anything else in the next short little while. And he's putting that in with, hard to see, what else is in the pan there, Chef?
A little,
he doesn't want to say, he doesn't look the other side to hear what he's doing. I see cauliflower out, I see blueberries, I see a steam basket, I see something dark, it smells like it's a vinegar or soy sauce or something being reduced. Red wine. See, that's how much I know about wine, right? I can't even tell the difference between vinegar and red wine. The chocolate is being melted into the red wine. That could be a red wine chocolate sauce or a reduction, hard to say. So there's a lot going on here in the first 5 minutes. In fact, Andy, I think it'd be fair to say that I'm seeing more interesting flavors and diversity in these pots and pans in this competition than I've seen in any other one so far.
Bob, I was going to comment, the other thing that I'm noticing is that from the beginning of these competitions, which started with the amateurs on Thursday and then the pros on Friday, there is an absolute difference in the activity level and dare I even say the stress level, because these chefs, they know that they're good, they know they've got great customers, but they, let's face it, they want to win. We saw heavy stress last competition. It was one of the first times we've seen this level of anxiety with the pros. They are definitely
yeah, look at this. They are moving, and I would say that on both sides, I've seen the shade of pale turn slightly redder already, whereas in the last competition, they were all calm, cool, and collective all the way to the end. I will mention, and I just found this out for the first time because I didn't realize there was an actual prize, but there's a $1,000 cash prize for the first team and a $500 cash prize for the second team. There's even a $250 cash prize for the third team that is not on stage right now. However, you know what this is all about, right? This is all about the bragging rights. All about the bragging rights. You know that these guys, for the next year, will hold the title of Iron Ore Chef Prince George.
And we want to thank the Prince George citizen who actually is responsible for putting on this event. Thank you very much to Dave, to Norm and the gang. But I can guarantee you their sales reps are going to be going to the winner and saying, hey, because you won the competition, how about we put in some advertising bragging about that?
Oh, it's the way of the world, isn't it? Andy, would you like to introduce our judges to the audience?
I would love to. We've got two very familiar judges here. I'm going to start off with our head judge. We have one judge that actually has a little bit more weighting than the other judges, and that's because we want to make sure that there's a level of expertise. And to make sure that even though the other three judges can outvote the head judge, this person has a little bit more weighting. And I'd like to introduce Chef Ron Christian. Ron is the head of the culinary department from the College of New Caledonia. Welcome, Ron. And Ron, just a couple of words from you about what you are expecting today, what you've experienced so far, and what you're hoping to see this time.
Well, I got to go to the gym, I can tell you that. But watching how calm these two teams are, and I've experienced both of the teams on two different cook-offs, and their presentation and their flavors have been excellent. Now, this is the pièce de résistance. This is for all the marbles. And $1,000 is great, $500 is great. But like Andy said, chef extraordinaire for Prince George. This is what these gentlemen and ladies are striving to do. And if you look at the key ingredients, the chocolate, and you use chocolate in an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert, this is going to be a challenge.
I'd also like to introduce from the ownership of Canadian Tire, as well as somebody that is well known throughout the community for his amazing community work, Selin Alpay. Selin, this is you've done a whole bunch of these now. Again, what are you looking for, and how are you going to pick the winner out of this?
I think that's going to be the toughest thing we're going to do today. Chef Ron and I have seen both of these team in action, and they are both brilliant. And even as they're in the final competition, they both look pretty calm. There is a lot of activity. There's a lot of intensity. It's going to be tough to pick a winner today.
Andy, I'm just going to interrupt here for a couple minutes. There are a few things that are going on. First of all, there's no question about the fact that the intensity on the stage. And folks, those of you who've seen any of the past rounds, are you agreeing with me? Is there more intensity on the stage right now? There really is. And I love this. By the way, standing room only. Give yourselves a round of applause. That is fantastic. But there are just a few things that I want to point out here. First of all, we're at the last, this is the last competition. Throughout the competition there have been various ingredients that have been the secret ingredient and the proteins that the chefs have to use. So in this case we have scallops, but there are several ingredients in the fridge that are left over, and Andrea, who's in charge of the whole back line here, has told the chefs that they can use anything that they can find in the fridge. So now, in addition to the fact that they have secret ingredient they have to use all the time, that's chocolate, they also have to use the scallops and use the chilies, but they have other ingredients that are available to them. Another thing you need to know is that each chef was allowed to bring one personal ingredient with them. And I'd like to just very quickly check in with the two chefs and see what those ingredients were. Chef, what was the ingredient you brought with you?
We brought saffron.
Saffron.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting. And Chef Ryan, what was the ingredient that you brought with you? He brought, oh, he knows I hate truffles. Oh, that's a bad thing too. But he brought truffles. Actual truffles or truffle oil? Truffle oil. Interesting. There's one other thing I want to mention, and that is that these chilies, by the way, these bird's eye chilies, well, they're not really technically bird's eye chilies, but these Thai chilies, they're insanely hot. And when a chef uses these in a course, he or she runs the risk of because they're so small and so intense, if you want to create some heat level, but if you go overboard, you can totally spoil a dish with just one or two extra little fragments of this chili. So that adds a real risk level. Anyways, want to point those things out. Norm? Norm, you're not Norm. You're Andy. Andy, do you want to finish introducing the judges that I so rudely interrupted you with?
Ranjit Gill, another well-known Prince George person. You are the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce and the Prince George Railway and Forestry Museum. Ranjit, how much are you looking forward to this?
Oh, I'm just having a delightful time. This is so fun.
You came here thinking you were going to watch, and now suddenly you're judging a 6-course dinner. Word of advice, although I will note that Chef Ron, who is an experienced chef and has been doing many courses, loved the desserts at the end of the last competition, and his plate was clean at the end of both rounds. It was unbelievable. That's a real testament to the quality of the food.
Andy, I'm going to jump in one more time. I've seen something we have not seen in the competition before. I just saw some homemade dumplings go into the steamer. So over here from the White Goose Bistro, one of Chef Ryan's chefs made a fresh dumpling wrapper from scratch. And then he rolled it out and he stuffed it with, and I asked him, and it's okay that I can mention this now because there's no way that either of these teams can tune into what the other one's doing and change things mid-course. They have their game plan already. So they've made a fresh chicken dumpling from scratch. That is pretty unbelievable. And now they're steaming it. Let's point out there are 16 minutes left until the first team has to deliver their appetizer course.
Bob, for the half of the audience that this is your first experience, you will not believe how quickly this hour goes by. It's unbelievable. It seems as though, you know, first of all, a whole hour, we've got a long time to go. The level of preparation that these chefs have to go through to plan out 3 courses from ingredients they didn't know they had to use just a few minutes ago, all the way to preparing everything on time is just unbelievable.
And you know, Andy, I've noted that these guys are, there's more activity on stage. There's also, just from this perspective, a lot more noise on stage. I'm hearing pans being tossed and stirred. I was hearing the slicing and dicing over here. I mean, the intensity is 360.
It's completely different from the first round where everybody was trying hard not to take anything away from them, but it was definitely a lot more relaxed, a lot more smiles and joking. This is all business right now. This is their profession. They're fighting for their pride right now.
There are no smiles on the stage right now. There's just like focused intensity.
Now, Bob is going to go through some of the pantry items in a few minutes. The reason that we have the judges sitting on the floor right now is because the rules of the game is that Save On Foods has provided all of the ingredients and cash, and we want to thank Save On Foods very much for that. But all of the ingredients at the back shelf and on the fridge are shared. And so the rules go that the team is, either team can go and take an item off the pantry shelf or from the fridge, come to their stations and use it, and then they have to put it back, and the other team gets to use this exact same ingredients. There's a huge amount of congestion back there, and it's very fast paced. So in fairness to the teams, we've had the judges on the floor for the first half hour, then we'll move them up onto the stage, and then it gets really tight back there. From Save On Foods, our guest panel judge. Candice, this is your first kick at the can, and you got picked for the best one of them all. How are you feeling about this, and how hungry are you? How are you looking forward to this?
I'm pretty hungry, and this is going to be awesome.
Thanks for being here.
Andy, I've just noticed something that on the team North 54 side, they too have taken a chicken breast. Now this is kind of random that they decided to pull a chicken breast from the fridge, because there's all sorts of stuff in the fridge right now. So I know that we have a chicken dumpling coming off. I have no idea if it's going to be part of the appetizer, entree, or dessert, although one would assume if it's being steamed at this moment in time that it's going to be part of the appetizer course. And I have no idea what this chicken breast is going to be used for, but it's really interesting. They both pulled chicken breasts out of the fridge. And we've seen in most competitions that there's very little overlap in the flavor profiles of the dishes. But in the last round, two chefs actually made a very similar entree and a very similar dessert. So we'll see if these guys collide in that space or not. Andy, I can't get, oh, there goes saffron into the boiling water. We haven't seen saffron being used before either, have we? I just can't get over the intensity here. Chef Ryan has broken into, I'd say, a fairly deep sweat. Yes, it is hot on stage. Just think about it for a second. You've got the lights, you've got the stoves, you've got the stove tops, you've got the pressure. It's intense up here.
Bob, that's a true sign, the fact that we're now seeing our brow getting mopped with paper towel because he's perspiring. Again, this is the difference between the intensity level. We commented on the amateur chefs that some of them were perspiring, but the pros were just totally calm and collected. This is a whole different ballgame today.
Not this round. And also they brought out, there's a lot of tools that I think they brought with them too. I'm seeing a mandolin over here. There's an ice cream maker whirling around over here. Chefs are patting down the scallops. Back here, they're drying them off, which is a way to get a nice crust on your scallop. If it's bone dry when it goes into the pan, you have a better chance of getting a nice, beautiful, crisp crust on it. And I know that's the kind of thing. Textures go a long way to please the judges, because they're not only just looking for something that's cooked properly, but they want to see it texturally. They want that appeal too.
Bob, do you want to talk about the scoring?
Yeah, that's a great idea, Andy. I do feel like I'm doing football color commentary here with you, but it's true. So here's the deal with the score. There are 20 points there's a 20-point scale that the judges use. 10 points are given for taste, 5 points are given for presentation, and 5 points are given for creativity, how creative and complex the dish is. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. When I was doing my show, Glutton for Punishment, the reason that I was able to do so well in so many of the competitions and sometimes score higher than the professionals who I was competing against is because I listened to the scoring categories. And whereas any one of these teams can have the best tasting dish, they can knock it out of the park and get a 10 out of 10. But if they don't, if they're not thinking about the presentation and they're not thinking about the creativity level of their dishes, then they could conceivably get a perfect score on the taste and then leave a lot of points behind in those other two categories. So it's impossible to win this competition unless you address all three categories at each step of the game, the appetizer, the entree, and the dessert.
One of the things from an audience point of view that you can definitely participate in, it's going to be awfully difficult for you to guess at the taste of these different dishes. But we'll do our best with our great camera crew. And by the way, a big shout out to Glenn, Stefan, and the video crew for all their work this weekend. And one of the things that you're going to be able to judge for yourself are two of the categories, and the two parts of the category are the presentation. You'll have some good close-up looks at the dishes and be able to judge for yourself where you would place the dish in comparison with each other, just in terms of how it looks. And of course, the second one is the creativity. how did the teams use the different ingredients? How much of their imaginations did they use to come up with the different dishes? And for sure you're going to have a part in being able to judge that in your own minds.
Andy, do you want to give us a sense of just how hot these chili peppers are?
Let me see, Bob. No, not right this second. Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience who would like to, you want to come on up? Wow.
Do we have insurance?
What's your name?
Lisa.
Okay, Lisa, I'm assuming you have a fairly high heat tolerance?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Lisa, I'm going to ask you to turn around to the audience, take a bite of that chili, and then hold on. I'm going to ask you how hot it is, and then I'm going to count to 60, and then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to ask you how hot it is again, okay? So I'm going to have you just sit yourself, take a bite, I'm going to ask you how it is, and then sit yourself down, we're going to do some other business and come back to you, okay? Okay. So what's your first impression about how, by the way, she ate the entire chili, she didn't just bite off the tip of it or anything. So what's your first impression?
Good.
Good. And a scale of 1 to 100, how hot do you think that is?
6.
6 out of 100 or 6 out of 10?
6 out of 10.
Okay, 6 out of 10. Okay, so Lisa, have a seat here. In case you're curious, if you've ever eaten a chili or maybe by mistake, if you're trying to cool yourself down, there's 2 things that will help you. Dairy and sugar. And my favorite kind of dairy when I'm trying to cool myself down is ice cream, but yogurt will work, milk will work, anything like that. And sugar, even a sweet candy will help knock back the heat. Okay, Lisa, oh, she's a tough one. She's a tough one, but I'm gonna just give her a few minutes here on the stage and come back. Don't go anywhere. Andy, there's 8 minutes left on the clock. Which team is plating first? North 54. So North 54 has 8 minutes left on the clock. By the way, in the earlier rounds, I was equating the earlier rounds to the World Cup, where when official time runs out, there's a little added time at the end of every match. But today, no added time. There are penalty points deducted for time overages, and that can make a difference between winning and losing. So keep that in mind as you watch the clock tick down. Okay, Lisa, how are you doing now? Are you upgrading from a 6 out of 10 to anything else?
Just a 6 still.
Just a 6.
Yeah, she has a tiny bit of a backstory here.
Okay, and I'm just checking your brow. Okay, what's your backstory?
My uncle's Jamaican.
Your what?
My uncle's Jamaican.
Your uncle is Jamaican. Well, you know what? I'm still very impressed. Very impressed.
You want dessert?
Andrea, do we have any habanero chilies in the oven? Any habaneros in the kitchen?
Bob, where do these sit in terms of the hotness scale?
I would say, well, on the one end of it's called the Scoville scale, and on the one end of the Scoville is a green bell pepper, which is a 0, and at the other end, I know Chef's going to correct me, but somewhere around 250,000 units is a habanero, and then there are ghost peppers and whatever.
Thanks to the beauty of the iPhone here,
okay.
we have a definitive iPhone Google answer.
And where's the jalapeno too? Give me the jalapeno. Where is it?
Jalapeno is 2,500 to 5,000 on the Scoville units, and Thai chili pepper is 25,000 to 50,000.
Okay,
yeah.
And the habanero is?
I didn't look up habanero.
Okay.
Or the bot pepper.
What would we do without technology?
Literally, if you have more than just a little bit of introduction, how hot it is.
Okay, Lisa, you can go back to your seat. I'm very impressed, very impressed. Give it up for Lisa. The best part is now I don't have to eat it. So Andy, 5.5 minutes on the clock. Let's just take a look here at North 54. This looks like a salad course of sorts. We have some avocado, some lettuce going down on the plate. I'm seeing some bacon, I'm seeing some chicken, and I'm seeing some kind of vinaigrette of some sort. So, interesting. This is, Oh, and some corn as well. Up the ante, and certainly I'm curious because right now I'm just seeing some basic ingredients going down in a bowl on top of some lettuce. I want to know where this creativity and presentation points are going to come from. Because I have a feeling I know what they're up against on this side of the White Goose Bistro. All right, folks, we have a really interesting opportunity here to get a little bit of perspective from our friend Chris.
Bob, we have just 3 minutes left to go. It's time for the judges to move up into their tasting stations. So judges, please come up on stage.
Okay, so remember folks, in this first course, chocolate, we know one thing, and that there are 3 ingredients. Once again, the chocolate, the scallops, and the Thai chilies. The scallops and the Thai chilies are optional. They can use them in any course, but we know that chocolate has to be a component in this course. And it also has to be, the judges will take into consideration how dominant it is. If the chefs just take chocolate and grate it around the outside of the plate as a garnish and go, there's my chocolate, not gonna fly with the judges. Sorry, it's the host prerogative to stick his nose in things.
2 minutes.
Oh god, you can smell it.
So 2 minutes for North 54, and that means 4.5 minutes until the White Goose Bistro has to
You know
make
something's
theirs.
aromatic when it does that.
Husband made the dumplings. He's like busy doing the pastry and stuff. Yeah. So he's not cooking dinner tonight, I bet.
The chefs, I'm just sort of dialing into their conversation, and they're just having a last-minute chat about should we add anything else. It's like sometimes less is more. Sometimes you want to gild the lily and just, you know, take it up one more notch, as our good friend Emerald would say. Get out of their hair. What are you working on over here, Chef Ryan?
Curried cauliflower gratin.
Curried cauliflower.
Gratin.
Gratin. All right, thanks. Okay, so 55 seconds until up. It's already going up to the judges. So the first course is is in front of the judges right now. All right, and the White Goose Bistro, Chef Ryan has just instructed his sous chefs to plate their appetizers, so they're not going to be far behind. The judges, as I have often seen them do, are taking photographs on their smartphones before they jump in to preserve this moment. Okay, Chef, can I just get you to describe for the judges and for the audience what they are tasting?
Yeah, it's take on the Cobb salad. We have roasted corn. We've got roasted corn and bacon chicken, and we did a chili chocolate red wine vinaigrette on it.
Chili chocolate red wine vinaigrette. Wow. And the Cobb salad, classic salad, actually invented in California, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, holy crap. Look at that. Jesus.
This is Savvy's wife, the guy up there.
That was Ryan's presentation, his whole thing. Hey, like I said, Ryan is owns the restaurant, and he owns the restaurant, so that makes a huge difference when you're an owner, as opposed someone who's used to it. But Mark is doing great. Oh, Grandpa's got some things to say. Are you happy that Mommy's up there with Uncle?
Awesome. Keep your eyes on the grater.
So as you can see, we're actually slightly ahead of schedule because North 54 served up their dish with a full minute to spare. We are down to less than a minute for White Goose, and they're all ready to go as well. So as soon as the judges have their last couple of bites here, we're going to plate the next appetizer.
Right, and there it is too. You can see it right there in all of its glory.
So good.
I want to take a second. And I want Chef Ryan to introduce, actually, if you will, this sous chef for me.
This is Savvy. He's my new sous chef. Let's see what he does.
So Savvy, you moved here from India. How many years ago?
Just 1.5 years ago.
And did you work as a chef in India?
Right. I'm working as a chef for the past 16 years. And I worked in the cruise line, Carnival Cruise Line, as well as in Bermuda also.
Wow, but I'm seeing that you have definitely an Asian influence. He prepared some basmati rice yesterday that pretty well just blew every single judge away. It was so light and fluffy, and it had a really intense lemon flavor to it, which is quite unusual for a rice. So, and I'm also seeing this is not an Indian course, but an Asian course, right?
I started my career with the Oriental kitchen though, the Chinese kitchen. That's from that only my influence. After that I moved to different cuisine.
Very interesting, but you see here that Chef Ryan is such a team player that when they were devising the menu, clearly he was deferring to his sous chefs, and that's really interesting. Also shows the level of respect amongst this team. Very, very impressive. Okay, so Chef, will you explain this, please, to the judges and to the audience? After you. No, after you. No, after you. Time's up. Sorry, kids. There was no dessert on the table.
So it's chicken dim sum. We're using a little spice and chocolate in the sauce. So a little bit of spice, but compliments inside with sesame oil. Very simple.
And what's in the chicken dim sum? So that's ground chicken, right? What's in that?
It's chicken, beans, onion, ginger, spring onion, sesame oil, soy sauce.
You guys get all that? Chopped up, lots of minced chicken, and then the ginger, the sesame oil, the green onions, all those yummy things. And the judges are, I see their...
I want to see their
Oh, and there's... Oh, sorry, yes. Where was the bird chili?
Sorry? In the chicken mixture.
In the chicken mixture. And the sauce. They're doubling down on that one.
I don't know, someone's Bob Blumer. Oh, hang on.
A little color commentary from the back of the stage is the judges are enjoying their appetizers so much that Chef Bob is trying to get a taste here, and they're almost fighting him off with their knives and forks to keep him away.
You really get the heat. You really get that chili coming through in the chicken mixture. Well, you know, I was mentioning, can we try and get this camera right here on the stovetop? Sure. Andy, will you explain to all of our friends out here what the chefs have at their disposal in the pantry?
This is part of my favorite part about this competition is that all of the food, as I mentioned earlier, comes courtesy of Save On Foods. And there's nothing particularly weird or fancy or unusual back here. It's just the same food that you find in either one of our Save On Foods. So the shared pantry back here has got, the top shelf has got a lot of fresh produce. I see nectarines and plums and pears, blueberries, raspberries. We've got various different types of kale and spinach. Lots and lots of different types of vegetables, carrots, different types of potatoes and onions, some carrots, cherries. We have quite a few different grains available, lots of different types of rice and hemp. We have a decent spice rack, and I'm fighting to stay out of the way because I know they're so busy back here. Obviously, your basic staples such as salt and pepper and different spices. We've got a variety of oils, sugar, oats, pecans, and then in the fridge we've got a variety of things such as bacon and eggs, sour cream, milk, cream. Really, again, it's just kind of what you find on your grocery shelf. That's the part that I find amazing, is that these professional chefs can create such unbelievable creations from regular food.
Well, that's the challenge here, Andy, and that is you can give anybody, you can give a 6-year-old kid some truffles or some foie gras, and they can make something that was super tasty. But if you think about it, the 3 ingredients, the secret ingredients: chocolate. We can all buy chocolate, use it any way we want. Those chilies are available in any market, and as amazing as they are, they cost about a nickel a piece. And the scallops, also a very common dish. So, I mean, it's a very familiar seafood. And so, having these relatively basic ingredients forces the chefs to dig deep and to come up with very creative ways to use them, because if they just made scallops with a little bit of pasta or whatever, which would be a fine dinner, they're certainly not going to end up at the top of the heap here. So it's the simpler the ingredient, the more the skills of the chef are required to turn it into something really spectacular. And I mean, we're seeing that now. We're seeing nothing short of spectacular. In fact, I think Chef Ryan has crusted, is that a cornmeal, Chef Ryan? He's crusted the scallops with a little bit of cornmeal, which is going to give them A, a little bit of texture, and B, either cornmeal or flour will help the crust of your scallop or fish when you're pan searing it. Just checking under the bottom here. Now that there's a real danger with scallops, because you need to use a very high heat in order to create that crust, and at the same time you don't want to overcook your scallops, because that's just about the worst thing you can do to them. So there's a really delicate balancing act, and as you can see, Chef Ryan is just checking underneath to see how they're doing, and as soon as they're browned enough, he's going to flip them and then get them off the heat. I'm seeing some up here on North 54 side. I see some chocolate with some chilies, and did I see some maple syrup going in there, Chef?
Maple syrup in there and a poblano.
Poblano, wow. So that's a sweet and savory sauce that he's creating. I see some steamed potatoes. The scallops are sitting up here just resting. Over here we have our scallops, some green onions in the pan, a reduction. Chef Ryan, what's in this reduction over here?
Red wine and chocolate.
That's the same red wine and chocolate I was asking you about earlier. It's reducing and reducing and reducing, so the intensity is growing and growing and growing. Well, just over 5 minutes left on the clock before we see our next round start and go up to the judges' table.
I'm just in the middle of the audience right now, just wondering what it's like to be sitting back here watching this. From your point of view, you just came here to see Bob, but what does the food look like from back here? Can you describe what it's like just watching this on the screen?
Well, I'm very comfortable.
I'm going to put you on the spot. You said that you like me and many others here, you don't call yourself a cook, but you like to cook. If you had to use chocolate, dark chocolate, I believe it's 90% chocolate, in 3 dishes, an appetizer, a main dish, and a dessert, do you have any idea how you would incorporate that into all 3?
Main dish sauce, for sure.
Which kind of sauce?
Steak sauce.
It's difficult, isn't it? It's really difficult. These 2 teams have had to, like I say, not just plan out 3-course dinners, but also prepare them. We've only got another, not even 3 minutes left until the entree is due.
Andy, I'm going to ask one of my little friends in the audience here to do something for me, and I want them. This is 90% chocolate. Are you familiar? Those of you in the audience, are you familiar with the different percentages of chocolate? The higher the percent, else I haven't seen in this whole competition. I'm seeing some carrots being, some shredded carrots being fried. And you know, Andy, it's interesting, in the previous competitions, the chefs were taking their time, and I found them cleaning up after themselves, but I'm noticing over here on the North 54 table, they're so focused on what they're doing that some of their first round ingredients are still up on the cutting board. Now there's no points for cleanliness, but it's just interesting to note that they're not dropping any time by cleaning up behind themselves. They're just looking forward, wow, just looking forward to the next course. They'll clean up when it's all done. 1 minute left on the clock, Andy.
1 minute. Just really quickly here, one of the things I'll point out is that the amazing crew back here that might not be getting a lot of attention, but these young people in the red t-shirts back here, we've got Brett and Dawson on your left-hand side and Christy and Sierra on your right-hand side. They have been unbelievable. The amount of dishes that these professional chefs produce is overwhelming, and they have this flood of dishes that continually come back here that they have to quickly turn around, wash, and then make available again for the professional chefs. So a big shout out to all of our helpers back here. 10,000 dishes.
Andy, I am really curious about this North 54 dish. I'm seeing potatoes, I'm seeing the scallops, I'm seeing this chocolate poblano sauce, the carrots. I mean, that is a pretty unusual collection of ingredients all going down on the same plate in the same entree.
We have 10 seconds.
And they're up in there, right straight to the judges. These chefs, they take it down to the line, but they know exactly what they're doing.
Here's your close-up, folks.
All right, Chef, can you just give us a quick description of what you just served the judges?
Sure. First of all, we seared off those scallops really nice. We made a poblano chocolate chili sauce, like I told you about. And then we did some potato coins, and we did a slow simmer in some saffron broth, get some color, and we did a carrot haystack.
A carrot what? Haystack. Haystack. Ah, a stack of carrot, a shredded carrot. Very nice. Judges are digging into that.
Oh, wow.
Well, folks, I wouldn't believe it unless I tasted it myself, but that chocolate sauce, when paired with that scallop, it's an amazing combination that just, from the eye to the plate, you're saying to yourself, how the heck is this going to work? But it really does work, and I was just conferring with Chef Christian, and the first thing out of his mouth was, there are many layers of flavor in this dish. And that's what we're looking for. You know, complexity is not necessarily a word that comes up in any of these categories, but the judges are looking for complex, layered flavors. That's a lot of what separates the amateur from the professional chef. You know, you can eat something and it tastes great, but when those flavors just keep giving and giving and giving and giving, it's just like a wine. That's a simple litmus test for a great wine. When those flavors linger in your mouth, start to go, oh, I'm getting a bit of this and a bit of that, and oh, there's a bit of heat coming down the back of my throat. You know, that's the sign of a great dish.
I have a question for the audience, partly for you too, Bob. How many people would have thought that you could make a sauce that would go with the scallop that would combine chocolate and red chili peppers together? A couple of you did. It's an unbelievable combination. It just sort of does magic in your mouth almost. It's so startling almost, but just fantastic.
It's shocking, and you know the shock value is one of the tools that a chef's kit. They love to surprise you, and sometimes you look at something and you go, you know, I just can't imagine this is going to work, and you taste it and it doesn't work, and then sometimes you're pleasantly surprised, as we all just were.
And our time is up for, and these guys have definitely been playing it on time.
Wow, take a look at that. I'm gonna just give you a little spin on my ghetto Lazy Susan here. Yeah, that's how they do it on the fancy TV shows. You just can't see the person's hand. But that's pretty well it. Lovely, and pay close attention to the lovely little detail here. I just want to point out that this little bundle of julienne vegetables is tied together with green onion.
Fancy. You want me to take this? Are you okay? Okay.
And then we have the dark chocolate and truffle cherry or chocolate ice cream.
And I noticed that was plated over some corn husks, and I'm just a bit curious as to, often when you see a garnish on a plate, it relates to something that's in the plate. Was there corn in that dish?
No, we did it for two elements. First, the little mini pie plates were hot, so we don't want to actually serve those. We don't want the plate to slide onto the bowl, to slide on top of the plate. As well as we want to just kind of keep the flow of kind of the theme of what we've done so far with the rest of our dinner with the dim sum and the vegetables tied. Just kind of keeping the flow going.
Keeping the flow going.
Good. Angela.
You might. I'll let you buy me some.
I know we do well when we got here when
I'll probably lose, but that's okay. Last time I did that, it cost me my relationship. I was drinking out of the party at the
So we have jam, cauliflower, curry, scallops are crusted with cornmeal, salt, and veg, and then red wine and chocolate.
Wow, interesting that both chefs went with a chocolate sauce for the truffles. Slight different approaches, but at the same time you're going to get that same style of combination of the lusciousness of the scallop and that chocolate. So folks, 9 minutes on the clock until the first dessert comes up to the judges. Andrea, who is in charge of setting up the ingredients for the chef, just pointed out a really interesting little fact to me, and that is that the chefs are given a certain portion of each of the ingredients. The secret ingredient today being chocolate, a limited number of scallops, and a limited number of chilies. Now, as it turns out, a limited number of chilies will go a really long way, but when I turned around and asked Chef Mark if he had a tiny bit of chocolate that I could share with someone so that we could get a little reading on the taste of the chocolate, he had none left. He's already portioned it out. But if something goes wrong in any one of his dishes, I'm just saying hypothetically, Chef, don't worry about it. Hypothetically. But if something goes wrong, he can't go to Andrea and say, can I have some more chocolate? Because that's all the chocolate that he has allocated to him. Now, I'm guessing they will not use all the chilies up, but the chocolate has to be in every single course, and they only have a certain amount. So they have to spread it out, and again, at the same time, they still have to make sure that it's dominant in that flavor profile of the course.
Chef Ron, head of the culinary program at the College of New Caledonia. Ron, how has it been so far in terms of incorporating the different ingredients together, and what are your observations over the first two courses?
Well, I wish I could share this with all of you.
He's lying. He's eaten every single morsel on his plate. Oh, no, he hasn't. Okay,
No scallop for you, Bob.
I'm sorry, I'm in trouble.
Two different sauces with the chocolate incorporation, wonderful. The one with the peppers, such nice flavor. The one on White Goose side, it's really tough. The White Goose side has a different layer of flavor. The cauliflower is my least vegetable that I like, and I'm going to eat every bit of the cauliflower on the plate. The flavors are exquisite. The presentation on both were exquisite. I can't say anymore, it's enough.
And believe me, if he wasn't happy, you would know about it. Because Chef Bishop does not pull any punches. Andy, what you thinking there with 7 minutes left on the clock?
Well, I'm just standing back here observing, and I noticed that from the beginning of the competition where people were flying around and dare we even say looking intense, even on the borderline of stressed out, it looks now that the professionalism of the teams are coming out, because they're very busy, but they're clearly, they're in control, they're calm. It looks almost as if they know what they're doing. You kind of get the feeling?
Well, I think there's that element, and then the other element is that, as mentioned, they were already working on their dessert course as they were preparing the appetizer and their entree. Now that the entree has hit the judges' table for both these teams, they have one sole mission left, and that is to complete their dessert. So I actually just looked at Chef Ryan, and he kind of nodded at me and gave me that kind of knowing, yeah, we're over the hump. We're there, we're coasting in to home plate. And so I think all their hard work is done, and the reason they're looking relaxed is because it's pretty well in the bag. Their dinner, their complete meal is in the bag. A few things have to happen between now and the next 5 or 7 minutes, but their hard work is all done, and that's pretty impressive. That was a lot of flavor, a lot of different components to a total of 3 dishes, and that was all done. Most of that hard work was done in the first 45 minutes. So pretty incredible. I've said this before, and Andy pulled the words out of my mouth before I could say it again, but you guys, it's pretty amazing that you have this number. When I say this number, I don't mean just the 2 teams here, Chris over here from the Twisted Cork, but all of the teams that have been competing for a city of this size. It's pretty incredible to have that many fine dining choices, as well as some of the other choices. I was at Nancy O's. They weren't even in this competition, but that's a great place to go. They cook up some amazing beer too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But it's a great town, and who would have known? You know, I came here. I think I was here about 1 million years ago, traveling with a rock band in my past life. I may not have even been here. I'm not quite sure. But I came here not knowing what to expect, and I'm leaving. And not just because I have a stain on my shirt, but I'm leaving with I love Prince George button, and I'm going to go home as your biggest ambassador. So. Just while we have a minute, thank you, and thank you to all of you. You've all been so kind to me. People come up to me and thank me for coming here, and I keep saying, no, thank you for inviting me, because it's been an honor and a real treat. And I've had the best time, and you guys know that. any host can stand up here and say, yeah, you guys are great, I'm having a great time. I am having a great time. Even before I saw the black bear, I was having a great time. But now, it just doesn't get any better than Prince George.
Well, I think judging from the fact that this has been virtually sold out every single show, I'm pretty sure Prince George would love to have Bob back and this competition in the future.
Yeah! Yeah!
And we'll take him on some bike rides next time. He'll see more than a bear. He'll see some moose and some fox and some coyotes. And
I'm going out today, so I still have one more chance to see all those things. I still have one more chance to get et by a bear too, I suppose. All right.
Now we have just slightly over 3 minutes left before North 54 has to have their final course on the plate. My favorite part about this, one of my favorite parts, I have many, is that compared to my amateur kitchen home, these guys, apart from this unbelievable pressure within the hour, having to plan, having to cook, having to serve, having the pressure of over 100 people staring at them, you notice that both sides are already kind of cleaning up already. So, oh yeah, no big deal. Walk in the park at this point in the competition.
I'm being privileged with a little taste of chocolate truffle ice cream. Yeah, there's truffles in there already. I can smell a truffle. I can smell a truffle from a mile away like that bear could smell me yesterday, by the way. Wow. That's a very unusual combination, chocolate and truffles, but somehow magically it works, and that's a lovely, very creamy, is that actually ice cream? Ice cream and Greek yogurt. So it's healthy for you too.
Bob, Ranjit has got a pretty sweet two jobs in Prince George, really. She oversees the Chamber of Commerce and the Railway Museum, but I believe you just requested a career change?
I'd love to do this every day.
Ranjit wants to do this every day. How has this been, Candace, for you, from the point of view of selling this food normally? How has the competition been for you so far?
It's really interesting. I know when I cook, I always look at different kind of things to use, and this is really interesting to learn.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna put you both on the spot now without giving anything away, but in your mind, is it, are they pretty even, or without saying which side, is one side carrying the edge for you?
Never mind. Oh.
One side is definitely carrying the edge for you right now.
Interesting. We don't want to hear any more right now. Don't want to hear any more. Let me just interrupt for 1 second, Andy. You know, we talked about creativity. I'm just looking over here at the North 54 plates, and these chefs were using the back of a spoon like an artist would use a paintbrush, and they're painting these ingredients onto the plate. And you can see how beautiful now that almost might be a palette. It looks just like a palette knife. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that that is a palette knife. And so, talk about artistry, a literal connection between culinary artistry and fine arts, painting artistry. You're seeing that all go down on these plates right now. The last thing I'm going to point out is that there's a fresh brittle, a fresh brittle. I mean, these chefs have made a brittle from scratch using sugar and melting sugar. Perhaps there was a bit of cream and some nuts in it, and that's a pretty cool little addition that's going to be, I'm guessing, it has to be an accent on the plate because there's no other plates left after this one. 24 seconds on the clock. Yeah, it was all fun and games a couple minutes ago when they were just lollygagging, and now the pressure's on. 14 seconds. 14 seconds. And, yep, they have done it. And the time is officially up, although as you know, the White Goose Bistro there's a 2.5 minute lag, so in 2.5 minutes from now, they will be plating their dessert. And that was just a little chocolate truffle burp that I had.
I'm like a shadow on the pony. That's chocolate truffles, people talking about.
My bad, I'm so busy trying to sneak a couple of bites that I forget to check in with Chef and get a sense of exactly what he did here.
Well, we did a honey saffron semi-Fredo.
Wait, would you explain how that's that?
Egg yolks, whipped cream, folded in, throw in the freezer as fast as you can. And it's semi-frozen.
Okay, what else was on there?
There was a chocolate coconut whip.
Nice.
A almond brittle.
Pretty impressive, pretty impressive. You know, I'd be happy to be able to make that in 60 minutes alone. Never mind.
Hits you, but the mellow, and then knowing it's going on a cobbler, is really unique. Really unique combination.
It's interesting to see that, you know, we have chefs from all over the world are participating in this, or one chef from another part of the world anyway, and you can definitely see the influence on that team's choices for their courses. So the more of that you have, the more you learn, the more blah, 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 blah.
So just one other question, just to get to know you a little bit better. You've spoken to the audience before about some of your exploits, including eating poisonous fish and some rather other extreme foods. What's your favorite type of food to eat? If you had a choice, what does Bob go and eat?
Extra crispy, hand-cut French fries with aioli, which is garlic mayonnaise. Very nice.
So we'll go back and check and see how the judges are doing. This may take a few minutes. Generally speaking, the rule of thumb is that the longer it takes, the closer the score. Several of these last rounds have taken quite a few minutes, so we'll go and check and see how they're doing, and we'll get right back to you if I can help.
Let's actually, you know what? While we have a minute, let's get both of the chefs to. Well, we've introduced the team, so let's just. I want to talk with Chef Ryan, for a second. You got no excuse to run away from me now, Chef Ryan. It's all over. For you, this experience, you've done this before, but how was it today? And and I want some real, I want the real deal here, not just any pleasantries. But what was it like being up here on stage today and looking across the way and seeing these guys and everything that was happening?
Oh, you know what? It's a blast. I love this stuff. I love the competitions. I love the head-to-head stuff. It was actually fun working with my sister for the first time this weekend. It was actually a pleasure.
No fighting back there?
Oh, it was pretty good. She listened to me, so And once again, Savvy's been with me for 3 weeks, and at the end, he showed me some stuff today too, which is amazing.
If there was any secret ingredient that you'd been secretly wishing for, what would that have been?
Tuna.
Tuna. Interesting. What would you have done?
Well, I don't know. We just really play with it. We like the fresh aspect, having all these fresh veggies and everything. We had something where we could use more of the fresh stuff, not having to cook some of it. Where tuna, you can use a lot of raw stuff and that kind of thing. So I thought it would be fun.
All right, great. Let's come over to the North 54 side of the table here. Chef, how was it on this end?
It was hectic, but we did it. We got all 3 dishes out, and that's all I can really ask for. And but heck of an experience. Like I can't tell you what I'm taking away from this, but it's been great.
And aside from the public speaking element of this, what's the hardest part for you?
Just the menu planning, getting that curveball of bitter chocolate, and going with the bunches.
And if you were wishing for any one ingredient, what would it have been?
Turnips.
Are you pulling my leg, or are you serious?
You're like, yeah.
He's become very comfortable in the last 5 minutes with public speaking, I would just like to say.
No, like Ryan said, tuna. Tuna I would have loved to see up here. But I got my wish for duck. And that was good.
That was great, and both of those duck dishes came out beautifully. That was really, really interesting to watch. So over here I see Andrea busily adding up the scores. Andy, let's just do a quick run through of the thank yous. So many people involved in this. The Prince George Citizen and
David Norm and his whole team. Fantastic job, guys.
Super great. And they brought this entire arena to you. This particular room that you're in is all they're doing. We want to thank our AV team, Glenn,
Stefan, camera people. Let's have another big shout out for the young folks in the red shirts. Some of the most important people: Brett, Dawson, Christy, Sierra. They did get to pick the leftovers off the plates, I noticed, and they were loving it back there. We have a few.
John Madden. Andy Beasley's been my John Madden. Wow. Very close. Very interesting. This is it. Chef? So, there are definitely two winning teams here. North 54 and the White Goose Bistro, but only one of them, and one of these two chefs, will be crowned, as I have dubbed it, Iron Ore Chef, Prince George. And today, that chef is Chef Ryan.
Yay!
Awesome, very close, great round, very exciting. Great job all around from both of these teams. Anyways, thank you to all of you for coming out. It's been such a pleasure to be able to host this event, to see so many faces, to see the crowds growing and growing and growing to the point that we were standing room only today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the fair. I know there's just a little bit of time left, but there's so much to see and to taste. Little shout out. All sorts of yumminess all around this room. Salsas, there are salsas, there are things for your dogs. There's so much to taste. So, over and out for now. Hope to see you again.